online, Mr. Mayor. We're good to go.
Okay, thank you. We're back live streaming, so I turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Wink and seconded by Councillor Olson. Be it resolved the Council receive report 2024-0135, Town of Pelham Speed Limit Review for information, and that Council endorse staff's recommendation to maintain the speed limits on the town's road network in accordance with the current bylaw 89-2000 as amended. To you for discussion.
Okay, thank you. Discussion on this agenda item. Councillor Eckert.
Yes, shocking that I would have something to say. First of all, let me start with a question to engineering or Public Works. Does this preclude us in any way in the future of designated certain roads within the town reducing their speed limits?
To the Director, Mr. Moore.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, I don't believe it does. This is an information report. It's to provide council with the information for speeding limits on our roadways. It gives you an idea of our classification of roads and how we got to where we are. Currently, in the urban areas, it's 50 kilometers per hour. In all rural areas, it's 60 kilometers per hour, with the exception of some rural roads due to geometrics that they've been reduced down to 50 as well. There are some areas where there's been some community safety zones established, particularly around schools, where there is a 40 kilometer per hour speed reduction. So I don't think this would limit council in any way in moving forward with any changes in the future. It's more of an information report now, and gives you an idea where we're at.
Councillor.
Okay, thank you. There's a couple of things that I take exception to in this report. And I noticed that you cite a couple of other municipalities about that it's a limited effect on reducing drivers' habits of below the posted speed limit when they went to 40. One of the things it doesn't talk about, though, is the reduction in collisions. And I've read reports from the CAA and other municipalities in Ontario where it's reduced collisions up to 80% or more. And I think that's the whole idea of reducing speed limits, is to make the roads safer. It's not necessarily to enact speed cameras and traffic enforcement to nail people that are going to be going 45 instead of 55. But it is a proven fact, and in my entire adult life, we've all heard the expression that speed kills. When you reduce speed limits, it gives people more time to react to what's going on, to any situation, whether that's somebody darting out onto the street or a car coming through a stop sign and not stopping. You have more time to react. And personally, I think, I know I left a meeting here not a couple of weeks ago where at two intersections, as I started to go, somebody blew right through the intersection. So we've all seen that stuff. And when you reduce speed limits, I think that statistics show that can help. Also, right near the end of the report, it said that the NRPS is in favor of implementing 40-kilometer neighborhood area speed limits. And that's because they know that it does reduce collisions. And that's where we're getting, pedestrians in crosswalks or pedestrians crossing the roads or cars coming out of side streets. The slower speeds gives people more time to react, and we get less collisions. And notice I don't call them accidents because they're not accidents, they're avoidable, so they're collisions. As I can support this, as long as there's an opportunity at some point in time, because I know the Pelham Active Transportation Committee is looking very seriously at making especially the downtown area of Fonthill And I know we may be limited on Regional Road 20 or Highway 20, but, especially downtown, we have limited areas for crosswalks, and we've spoken with Public Works about that, and we're restricted on where we can just put a crosswalk in. But, we're building more seniors buildings. We're encouraging walking and cycling, and this is something that we need to start doing now for future generations that are coming that'll get used to the fact that downtown Font Hill or the side streets off of Highway 20 or South Pelham are 40 kilometers per hour, and they're not as inviting to avoid the traffic light by ducking down Emmett or College or whatever and racing down to Station Street to then get out to Highway 20. So as long as there's an ability to designate certain streets rather than a blanket 40-kilometer speed limit in town, that we can designate certain streets, then I would vote in favor of this. But if we can't do that, then I would not be voting in favor of that. One in particular I'm thinking about is, you have 40 kilometers on South Pelham, you have 40 kilometers on Port Robinson, and then you increase it to 50 to come into town. And that to me is a perfect example of where we could have 40 kilometers all the way through to 20. And that takes us through the downtown area and slows everybody down and makes it better for walking. So that's my thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Turn to Mr. CAO.
I think possibly to offer some comfort to Councillor Eckhart and perhaps the community at large, there are two thoughts. One, I think council can view this report. You always have to worry about your rules on reconsideration, right? If you vote to do something or not do something, it's hard to undo it. You need someone to change their mind, then you need 2/3, right? But here I think you could certainly agree that this report is about the system as a whole. It's not about individual streets. And so I think you could make a decision here that still easily allows for future consideration of specific intersections or portions of roads, as Councillor Eckart's just referred to. So I don't think you're making it impossible to make additional changes down the road. I would submit that, and certainly council could simply agree now that would not be a reconsideration if you're looking at an individual street, like this is a report about the road system as a whole. And so there'd be that piece. And then secondly, staff are still tasked with coming back with another report about municipal speed enforcement and speed cameras, and that of course can take in community safety zones. So there's more conversation around speed to be had this calendar year. Plus, I think, unless council directs otherwise, staff would certainly take it that it would be entirely appropriate in the right fact circumstances to come back with reports about speeds in individual locations. That this is just a thematic as a whole. This report reflects the engineering department's vision and support for essentially the status quo, but that doesn't preclude the good work of the committee, the Council Eckert chairs, and looking at individuals. So I think that's a entirely useful way forward, and you are getting more reports on speed this year.
Councillor?
Yes, thank you very much. And you brought up a good point about the community safety zones, because again, we have one on Port Robinson Road right by the school, but all of those kids going to that school walk up Port Robinson Road where it's 50. So why not extend that out to Rice Road? So the 40-kilometer zone and the community safety zone only goes to Station Street as far as I know. And, we could extend that out to Rice Road. Or when we have a community safety zone on South Pelham in front of Glen A. Green School, we could extend that right through into Regional Road 20. Those are examples where I want to make sure that we have the ability to do that or look at that in the future. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you for those thoughts, Councillor Eckert. Any other comments? Councillor Kurt?
Yes, I endorse the report. The irony that I find is speed limits are all based around enforcement. And I think probably the number one complaint that we get from people is speeding within the town. So sometimes you can post things and until somebody gets the ticket in their hand, and let's just say after watching this morning's news and finding out about 3 of the speed cameras being cut down in West Lincoln, kind of highlights, and it looked very similar to the same cutting tool that was used on the one in Vineland, just right off, sizzled off, one in front of the school. So people get mad about some of the silliest things, but I agree. As long as we can look at specified roads and trying to make consistency, the worst thing in the world is to drive 50, then 40, then 50, then 40, then, like, just give me something steady is easy for certain districts. And where there's high pedestrian traffic, yeah, you want to look at reduced speeds. I agree with you there. So this is, it follows the stuff. It's everything that I've been reading as well and following the other reports. It's just, I guess our dilemma is the enforcement side of things. We all get the regular emails of people shooting through crosswalks and rolling through stop signs. And I mean, Councillor Olson and I have just gotten recent emails from students at E.L. Crosley talking about the Effingham-Canberra Road intersection and among other things. So it all fits within it, but it's something we have to have in place.
No, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nesnick.
Yes, thank you very much. So, yeah, I'm certainly going to endorse this report, and thank you for the time you've put and effort you've put into it with some of the background research. I still think that it is one of the largest complaints that we get as councillors with regards to speed and people, and it's not that they're speeding 50 kilometers an hour and people are complaining about it. I think people would be thrilled if people drove 50 kilometers an hour through town and down their streets, and especially down past Port Robinson. I think that is the goal that we should be focusing on, and I really would like to figure out some way that our town can start a campaign with regards to this is your town, and your speed impacts your people. And like, this could be your grandchild crossing the road, and you need to be going the speed. And so just raising that awareness that stop means stop, all 4 wheels, and proceeding with, so if we can come up with a community campaign about, did you go 50 kilometers today, or something with stickers and banners and posters and that sort of thing, I think it would be worthwhile for us as a town to promote something like that. So whether we can chat more a little bit about that in the future and bring a motion for that and put some budget dollars into that for next year's budget, I really think that would be a good way to raise awareness to start to have everybody be responsible for driving the posted speed limits. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. On that item, you'll go into neighborhoods and you will see that individual residents have indeed put up signs, please slow down. Yeah. And they will say that those signs have caught people's attention who have absent-mindedly crept their speed up, and oh yeah, take a look, right? So a simple thing like that can be helpful, and perhaps a town campaign overall might be something to look at. Although, Mr. CEO, is that something in the town's realm of responsibility, or is that more or less a regional policing initiative, in your experience?
I find it's always less expensive and less painful to say it's the other party's responsibility.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments on this report? Councilor Eckert.
Yeah, sorry to keep going, but just to further comment on Councillor Nizik's. This problem is caused by residents of Pelham. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. to speed up Effingham and up Pancake to Haste, you're going home. You're not cutting through to Welland that way. You're going home to the subdivisions. And I always recall a story years ago. I was a sergeant sitting in Keith's restaurant in Welland, or in Fonthill, and the old guys at the counter that solved all the problems of the world every morning turned to me and said, "When are you going to do anything about the speeding on Haste?" And I said, "Next day shift, I'll have somebody there. But I'm going to warn you, it's going to be your friends and neighbors." And the guy that spoke to me was the first person to get a ticket. And the next time I saw him, he said, "I didn't mean me." So Councillor Niznik's absolutely right. This is your own people in Pelham, our own people in Pelham that are causing this issue. It's not people from Port Colborne or Welland or whatever. And maybe if certain street things happen, maybe some traffic will be relieved a little bit. But it is a town issue as far as I'm concerned, and I would support anything that we could do to, and I will be bringing it up at the PATC next meeting as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? Not seeing any. I will call the vote. All those in favor? And none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That moves us now to 1414. I have a motion moved by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wink. Be it resolved, the Council receive report 20240117, Conservation and Demand Management Plan for 2024 for information, and that Council approve the 2024 Conservation and Demand Management Plan.
Thank you. Any comments, questions on this report? Not seeing anyone. I will call the vote. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving to 1415, I have a motion moved by Councillor Olson and seconded by Councillor Niznik. Be it resolved, the Council received the report 20240109, the 2025 budget schedule for information, and the Council directs staff to include the budget open house public meeting to be conducted as part of the regularly scheduled meeting of Council on Wednesday, October 2nd, and that the rules of procedure as contained in the Town of Pelham procedural bylaw be suspended as they pertain to these delegations to allow unlimited delegations to register for and speak on the budget as part of this meeting, and that Council approve the 2025 budget schedule attached hereto, and that Council directs staff to include the approved budget schedule dates as part of Council's regular meeting schedule.
Thank you. After reviewing the budget schedule, did any of the meetings fall on anyone's birthday? Sorry, that was a joke. Tough crowd. Anyway, any comments on the schedule? Not seeing any. I turn to the clerk. Oh, no, I call the vote. All those in favor of the schedule? And any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving now to 14.1.6. I have a motion moved by Councillor Niznik and seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved, the Council receive report 2024-0130 MCC Lands Options and Public Consultations Results for information, and that Council directs staff to proceed with one of the options and report back on an implementation strategy for that option. To you for discussion and decision.
Excellent. Quite a response to the survey particularly. Any comments from members of council on the results of the survey and plans moving ahead? Deputy Mayor Wink.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to put forth a motion to move into closed session to discuss potential sale price of lands.
Okay. Is there a seconder on that? Okay. Councilor Nesnick. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you wanted, and if it's agreeable to the Deputy Mayor, we could add this to the list for the regularly scheduled closed session that's coming up. So we could just add that as another item and continue on with the open agenda item and then come back to this after we come out of closed, or we can go in and out and in and out.
To the Deputy Mayor?
So I think if we want to continue on with the existing motion, we should have all the information available to us to be able to make a fully detailed decision. So unfortunately, we have to go in and out and in and out.
Not a problem?
Okay. Let me have a seconder. Any other comments on this motion? On the motion to go in camera, all those in favor? I see none opposed. We will indeed go in camera.